Good morning, student. Today we are going to discuss experiment number 5. So let us discuss experiment number 5, which is based on SVM classifier, which is one of the most strongest classifier that we have. So what is our problem statement? Okay, our problem statement is the experiment have been carried out with a group of 30 volunteers within an age bracket of 19 to 48 years. Each person performs 6 activities: walking upstairs, walking downstairs, sitting, standing and laying, wearing a smartphone, a Samsung Galaxy S2 on the waist, using its embedded accelerometer and gyroscope. We captured 3-axial linear acceleration and 3-axial angular velocity at a constant rate of 50 Hz. The experiments have been video recorded to label the data manually. The obtained dataset has been randomly partitioned into the two sets, where 70% of the volunteers was selected for generating the training data and 30% the test data. The objective is to classify activities into one of the 6 activities performed. Okay, so from the training data we have to create a model. Okay, and after creation of a model, when they give reading of this sensors, then we have to predict the activity performed by that user. Okay, so that is our objective. Okay, so how many classes are there? We have total 6 classes, and these are the class labels. Okay, so we have to classify the activities into one of the 6 activities performed. So that is our aim. And for training, which features are available? So here we have the readings of these sensors. Okay, so namely we have accelerometer and gyroscope. Then which data set we have to use? Human activity recognition with smartphone. So let us see. Okay, so if I search for that data set, I can see that data set on the Kaggle website. Human activity recognition with smartphone, recordings of 30 study participants performing activities of daily living. Okay, so we know what is our first task. First task is to understand the data set. Okay, so here we have same explanation, and in this data set we have 2 files. Okay, as mentioned in the problem statement, we have test.csv and train.csv. So train.csv contains 70% of the records. So now let us see what data we have. So here you can see total 563 columns are there. That is a huge number. Okay, so here we have T-body accelerometer mean in the x direction. I think this is x direction, so it will be visible in if I select column option. So T-body accelerometer mean in x direction, then we have y direction, then z direction, then we have T-body acceleration standard x direction, then y direction, z direction and so on. So likewise we have number of readings from the sensors. Then finally we will see the labels, how they are recorded. So let me see the column name for that. Okay, so they will be at the bottom. Okay, yes, here we have a subject and activity. Let me select that. I will include that. Okay, so subject and activity. So let us see what we have in subject and activity. So I have selected total 12 columns. Okay, so let us see the data that we have in subject. Okay, in subject it is a number, it is storing a number. It varies from 1 to 30. Okay, actually these are those 30 persons. Okay, so 1 represents person 1, 2 represents person 2, that like that. Okay, and total readings in the training data is 7352. Okay, So subject is storing the number representing the persons, and then we have activity. Okay, so here you can see there are total, let me zoom. Okay, so in the activity column we have the class labels. We have total 6 unique values. Okay, and those values will be what that we have seen here, right? So these are the walking upstairs, walking downstairs, sitting, standing and laying. Okay, so this column is our target column. We want to predict the these class labels. Okay, so here we have total 6 classes. Okay, that's why this is a case of multi-class classification. Remember that it is a case of multi-class classification. Till now we have seen only cases of binary classification. Okay, so this is the example of multi-class classification. So for this lab I am going to use these 2 notebooks for the explanation. Okay, so now this first notebook, they have given a good analysis. Okay, so in the first notebook we have good analysis of the data that is present in the data set. So let us see. So first we have to import the libraries. Okay, then they are reading the 2 files, that is train.csv and test.csv, using a read underscore csv function. Okay, they are reading in train underscore df data frame, then test underscore df. Then they want to utilize the complete records. That's why they are concatenating train underscore df and test underscore df in the both underscore df data frame. Okay, so they are concatenating both the data frames. Okay, so now, and axis 0 represents what? Axis 0 represents rows. Okay, so the rows of test underscore df will be appended at the bottom of train underscore df. Okay, and so now in order to remember from where, actually when we concatenate these records, they will get mixed up, right? Okay, so in order to remember from where they came from, okay, so we are actually adding a new column here. Okay, a new column named data in the train underscore df and in test underscore df also, and there we are just putting train and test. Okay, as I can show you here, as you can see at the end we have appended a data column. Okay, so we are putting a train in the training records and test in the testing records. Okay, so for that we have added a extra column. Okay, then we are concatenating. Okay, so now our name of the data frame is both underscore df. Okay, and then okay, now they are popping the activity column. Okay, so activity column is our target column, right? So now they are maintaining features in the both underscore df data frame, and they are keeping our target in a label vector. Okay, so label is actually a one-dimensional array, right? Okay, so label is our vector and it is containing our labels. Okay, activity is storing our target column, right? Okay, okay, so by pop they are popping this column and they are catching in label vector. Okay, now they are just printing a shape of train underscore df. Shape means what? A dimension of that data frame. Okay, so they are just printing. Okay, so we have total 7,000 records in training and 2,000, nearly 3,000 records in the testing data frame. Okay, and then they are just printing top 5 records from the train underscore df, just to see the data which is present in this data frame. So we have just numerical records, okay, coming from the sensors, and finally at the end we have subject. Okay, so this is the record of first person. As you can see here we have 1, and these are the activity performed by that person. Okay, and this column we have appended. Okay, now which features are there? Okay, they want to see which features are there. Okay, but we have seen there are total 564 columns. okay, but they just want a main name of the columns. That's why what they have done, they have just splitted, okay, using this dash, because you can see here dash is present, right? Okay, so they have just obtaining a main name of the sensors. Okay, so we have total 79 records for F body accelerometer, then similarly for other sensors. Okay, and then we have only one column for the subject, one column for the data, 7 columns for the angle, like that. Okay, so actually this was not necessary, but just for analysis they are just getting the main names of the columns. Okay, then they want to see what types of data are there. Okay, so now first we have to check for the nulls. Okay, are we having a missing data? So for that we can use is NA, right? So we represent missing value by NA, right? So we have a function is NA. We also have function called is null also. Okay, so they are checking for the missing information. So luckily here we have no missing data. Okay, so which is nice. Okay, so we need not to replace those missing value. Okay, so fortunately there are no missing values. Okay, then how are the labels distributed? Okay, so in Bayesian classifier we have seen a case of unbalanced data set, right? So now they are checking whether we have a balance between these 6 classes. Total we have 6 classes, right? So for that they are trying to plot a bar chart. Okay, so now you can see here we have a proper distribution among these 6 classes. Okay, so now let us see that code for this. So now they are actually plotting a bar chart. Okay, so in the label column, label vector, we are having labels, right? 6 different labels. Now they are actually counting the value of those labels. Okay, using value underscore count. Let me show you the documentation for value underscore count function. So here you can see it is a function from pandas. Okay, so it returns a series containing counts of unique values. Okay, so in label column we have 6 unique values. So this function will return me a table where I will have a labels and its corresponding count. Okay, so label count. Okay, so number of rows would be what? 6, right? 6, and in the second column I will have count. Okay, so now shape 0. Okay, so shape returns 2 values, right? Number of rows and number of columns. So he is getting how many number of rows are there? So n would be 6 in our case. So now he is creating a color map. Okay, and 6 colors he is creating, and then he is plotting a bar chart. Okay, on the x-axis he is having index label counts. Okay, label counts, yes. So on the x-axis we have labels, and on the y-axis we have the counts. Okay, then yes. Okay, so now this go represents, I think they are using Plotly. Yes, go, yes, Plotly. Now till now we have used Matplotlib library for plotting, right? So this Plotly gives you the interactive way of interactive charts. As you can see, if I roll my mouse over this bars, you can see the numbers, right? So Plotly is used for plotting the interactive graphs. Okay, so you can use this library also. Okay, so basically just we are trying to see the distribution of these classes. Okay, so this is not the case of unbalanced data set. Okay, which is fine. Okay, now they have done in-depth analysis of the data set, which is not required. Okay, so now we will move to the implementation part of SVM. So for that we will refer this second notebook. Okay, so actually while practicing you can combine these 2 notebooks. Okay, this you can use for the analysis, and this you can use for the implementation. Okay, so now, so first in this notebook we are importing the libraries. Okay, then we are reading those CSV files, train.csv, test.csv. They are shuffling the records. Okay, no need of that. Then they are checking for the missing values. Here they are using is null. Okay, so we are getting a false. Okay, there is no missing value. Then okay, again here also they are trying to see the distribution of the classes, but here they are in this notebook the author has plotted a pie chart. Okay, so here you can see plt.py. This we have plotted in the previous practical also, right? Now plt means they are using, I think, matplotlib library. Okay, so now here they are using a cross tab function. Okay, actually this let me show you the documentation for cross tab function. So it computes frequency table of the factors. Okay, it computes the frequency table. Okay, so now what we are passing to this, we are passing the activity column from the training. Okay, from training data frame we are passing the activity column. Okay, so now it will give me the frequency distribution of the unique values present in that column. So here we have 6 labels and corresponding frequency. Okay, here we have obtained using label vector. Okay, we have counted the values. Here I am using a cross tab function for that. Okay, so just we want to see the distribution of the class. We are doing the same thing, but here we are just considering only a training data frame, but here we have considered a total records, right? We have appended, we have concatenated both the data frames here, right? Okay, so here we are just focusing on the training data frame. Okay, so then we have plotted a pie chart for that. Okay, then normalize the predictor. Okay, so here we are creating our X train, Y train, X test and Y test. Okay, so now for training we don't need activity column because it is our target column, right? So here we are dropping that activity column, and axis 1 means what? Axis equals to 1 means what? A column, right? Axis equals to 0 means rows, axis equals to 1 means column. So here we are dropping an activity column. Okay, so actually X will be our features and Y will be our target column, right? So here we are just keeping activity column, and actually this is a code. This as type is for typecasting, where earlier activity column is of string type. We are typecasting into the object type. Okay, I don't know what is the need of this typecasting. Okay, okay, so in X train, so now we don't have activity column in that. In Y train we have activity column. Similarly in X test we are dropping activity column. In Y test we are keeping activity column. Okay, then we are just printing the shape of X train and Y train, X train and X test. Okay, so this is the dimension of that after dropping activity column. Okay, then now here we have a encoder and transform function. So what is the need of this? So let me explain this through one example. Okay, now consider, suppose we have a qualification column, and we know that under qualification we have different types of qualification like BSc, MSc. Now consider if I am just putting one for BSc, 2 for MSc and 3 for some other qualification, let's say BSc plus B.Ed. So BSc plus B.Ed and so on. Okay, consider we have 4 and okay. So now under qualification I am maintaining a numeric values. Okay, now as you can see, if I maintain as a string, as you can see, these are a categorical data, right? It is not continuous values, unlike price. So if I storing a price, it is a continuous values. Okay, so now there is no correlation between these two classes, right? But if you treat these numbers as a continuous values, what classifier will do? Now so we have 1 2 3 4. So now this classifier will consider this 3 and 4 more closer as compared to 1 and 4. Okay, so this classifier will treat these two classes more related as compared to some other combination. Okay, but this data is actually a categorical data. It is not continuous values. Okay, so for that we have to do a transformation and encoding. Okay, so you might have heard one hot encoding, right? It is better explained in let me show you one video.
Huge trees.
Okay, so that encoding and transformation is explained in this video. I will share the link of this video after this class. Okay, so please go through that. Okay, so now did you get the problem with the categorical data? These classes are independent classes, they are not related, but if you assign a numerical value to those classes, okay, the classifier will treat these two classes more related, okay, which are neighbors. Okay, this 1 and 2 it will consider more related as compared to 1 and 3 because they are far, right? Okay, so that is the problem with categorical data. So for that the solution is encoding and transformation. Okay, so that's what we have done in this code. Transform, encoder, transform. Okay, then okay, so now then he has performed a cross validation. So in one of the lecture we have studied cross validation. What is the use of cross validation? So consider if I split my total data set into 3:1 ratio. So this is my training data and this is my testing data set. Now if I create a model from this split, I may get a 98% accuracy. What if I consider the first few records for testing and remaining for training? I may get some other accuracy, let's say 97% accuracy. So what we do, we apply a k-fold cross validation, right? We have seen this in one of the lecture. We perform k-fold cross validation. So what we do, we apply this technique k times, considering different combination of training and testing, right? And by applying this cross validation, we may learn the optimal value of some parameters. So in this case, in SVM, we need the values for this parameter kernel, C and gamma. So for this cross validation, we are giving this multiple values, and after cross validation we will get the best values for these parameters. Okay, so here I am giving RBF kernel and linear kernel. Okay, so cross validation will give me the best value for the kernel out of these two values. For gamma I am giving two values. This 1e minus 1 represents 0.001. So it is like 1 into 10 to the power minus 3. This is like 1 into 10 to the power minus 4. Okay, so that will be the value of gamma, and for C I am giving these 4 values. Okay, so cross validation will try out all the combination and will give me different values for kernel, gamma and C. This kernel you will study in second video that I have shared. Okay, this RBF corresponds to radial basis function. Okay, so what is the function of RBF? Now consider this. This is the original data and it is not separable, right? You cannot put a decision boundary, a linear decision boundary. After applying this RBF, this is actually a kernel. Okay, and when we apply this kernel on this non-separate data, we'll get a separated data, and now I can put this decision boundary, and now I can classify this data set, right? So this process is known as a kernel trick. This is second example. This separation we have obtained by applying some another kernel trick. Okay, so if we have a non-separable data, to make them separable we apply a kernel trick. Okay, so we have linear kernel trick, then we have polynomial kernel trick. Similarly we have this RBF. Okay, so we are trying to see which kernel is better. Okay, so RBF or linear. So here you can see after cross validation I will get the best score for C. Okay, I am getting 1000, then best kernel as RBF and best gamma value as 0.001. So here I am printing those. Okay, so I am applying cross validation using this function, that is cross validation. CV stands for cross validation. I am giving SVC classifier for that. SVC, that is support vector classifier. Okay, and then I am getting this model. I am fitting that on the training data. Okay, so this SVM model is our generated model, and for that, okay, in order to get the values of those parameters, so I am using this best estimator kernel, okay, and gamma. Okay, and these are the values obtained after cross validation. Then the best part, that is evaluation of our model. Okay, so here I am printing the confusion matrix. Yes, here I am executing a predict function. Okay, so now I am testing my model. So I am giving my X test scaled version. Here I think they have done a scaling. Somewhere here they have done the scaling. Okay, so now I am using a predict function for evaluating my model. Okay, I am passing my text record. Okay, and I am getting a prediction. Then I am printing my confusion matrix. Now here the dimension of confusion matrix would be 6 by 6 because we have 6 classes, right? So what is the meaning of this? So 3. So the class is 2, but our classifier saying it as 1. Okay, so here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 1, 2, 3 along the columns, right? So 3 means what? Actually the class is 2, but our model is saying it as 1. Okay, this along the diagonal we have the correct values. Okay, because there it is 1 and model is predicting 1, right? So along the diagonal we have the correct values. Non-diagonal elements are the errors. So now let us calculate precision recall values. Okay, so as you can see we have good results here. Okay, so for training we have one value which represents it is having a high bias, right? There is 100% accuracy, means our model is having high bias. For the testing we are getting 0.95 score, means what? 95% accuracy. Okay, so this is regarding this lab. Any doubt? Let me revise quickly. In the first notebook we have done the analysis. Okay, so we have seen how the class labels are distributed. For that we have plotted a bar graph for that. Okay, and what we have done, first we have done the concatenation. We have added all the record. Let me start from the top. Yes, we have read the CSV file, then we have concatenated the training data frame and testing data frame. Okay, then we have deleted the activity column. Okay, then we have printed the shape, that is fine. Then next one, we have just obtained the main names of the column, which was not required, but we can see that. Then we have seen for the missing data using isNA in this notebook. Here we have seen isNull. Okay, isNull is used. Okay, then we have seen how the labels are distributed. Here we have plotted the bar chart. Here we have plotted the pie chart. Okay, then here we have used. Okay, so here we have plotted the pie chart for seeing the distribution. Okay, then we have created the xtrain, ytrain, xtest and ytest data set. Okay, then we have done the encoding and transformation. Okay, then yes, we have performed the cross validation to obtain the optimal value for these parameters, 3 parameters, and we have seen we are getting the best result for RBF, radial basis function, and when C equals to 1000 and gamma equals to 0.01, and we are using SVC classifier, which is defined in scikit-learn library. So again we are using a scikit-learn SVC classifier, and we have our fit function and predict function. Okay, predict is used for the prediction. Again, this is a classification task, but this is a case of multi-class classification. Okay, so that's why we are getting a 6 by 6 confusion matrix. Okay, then from this we can calculate the precision and recall values, and this is the score of our model. Okay, now here they have scaled the values of xtest and xtrain. You try without scaling and then with scaling and see what is the effect of scaling on the result. Okay, any doubt? Okay, so we'll stop here. Thank you.